Well, folks, Josh Long joined us to this fireside chat, and I'm really excited to this. Hi, Josh.
Hi, good morning or good evening.
Yeah, yeah. This is my first question because in your area it's almost 10 a.m. and it's yeah, as you say, good evening. Yeah, and my question to you is, how's your day? How's your morning? Yeah, do you have some special rituals? Or some of them, some people say, "Oh, I'm." Have my individual plan like magician morning or something like that. Do you have such a thing?
I mean, do I have a ritual, a thing I do every morning? Yeah, is that what you're asking? What my rituals are?
Yeah. What probably you have. Sometime
Yeah.
I know at least a book that magician morning that some people wake up at 5 o'clock doing some exercise and other things. And
Yeah.
what about you?
Um, I I typically wake up. Well, so it depends, right? A lot of times I have meetings. Uh, Very often I have meetings at midnight or 1 in the morning because if I'm not traveling to visit people, then I'm talking to them online, and so I will wake up sometimes 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, but sometimes I wake up at 6. It depends on what I've had to do the night before. Excuse me, because I talk to people all around the world, right? Asia and Europe and so on. So for me, if I go to bed, let's say I let's say I wake up at 10, and then I have
Mhm.
meetings with people in the Americas, North and South America, and then we move further and further uh, along the timeline. By 5 o'clock, you get 5 o'clock my time. You get
Mhm.
Japan and in Korea, and then 6 o'clock you get China and Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia and so on. And then you keep going around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock you get India. Around 11 o'clock you get Eastern Europe, and then midnight you get Central Europe, and then 1 o'clock you get like the UK and maybe Morocco or something. I think they changed actually, so Morocco is now back in Central Europe, so or Western Europe, and so I can have meetings all day from 10 till 2 in the morning, and so it really depends when I wake up. That's the first thing. The second thing is when I wake up every morning, I follow the GTD methodology. I don't know if you know of this. Get things done, and it's
Uh-huh.
basically it's just a very it's a like people do all sorts of things. They have Jira, or they have Pivotal Tracker, or they have GitHub issues or whatever for their code, and they have a way of organizing and managing their code. But what about the rest of their life? You gotta like pay your taxes. You gotta make sure you talk to the doctor. Make sure you get some clothing cleaned. Make sure you talk to the teacher for your kid's school or whatever. Right? All these things you have to do. And the problem is we're very good at organizing just our software projects. But even there, our software projects are over here and over here and over here, and they don't. You can't see availability across all of them. And so with Get Things Done, you create a system, and basically every morning you write down all the things you've got to do. If you have something to do, you put them in. You can I use software. There's a tool. There's many tools you can use, but basically you can also do it with just buckets of paper, like little bins of paper. And in one bin you have your inbox, which is all the stuff that you need to do. And then every morning you look at that inbox and say, okay, I can do this right now. It'll only take a few minutes, so you do it, and then you put it in an archive. If it takes a long time, then you can either sorry, it comes from one bucket, and then you put it in inbox, and then in inbox you can decide to either do it, or if it's going to take a long time, or if you're waiting for something, you put in waiting for, right? And if it's uh, something you don't need to do anything, you just want to like keep a note, you can put it in reference, right? And if you've already finished it, you put it in an archive. And so every morning I do this shuffle. I look at all the things that I have to do, new things and old things, and I decide, can I do it right now? If so, I do it. If I can't do it right now, why not? And then I figure that out. If I'm waiting for somebody, I put it in the right folder. If I uh, just need to note it. I put it in reference, and if I'm finished with it, I put it in archive, right? And I do that every morning, and that's how I figure out what I'm going to do for the day. Uh, Before I had I did that before my cup of coffee. I did that before I took my morning shower. I did that before everything else. It's just very important.
Okay, like first thing, yeah, I also faced with such a problem. That's why I have a white board and my marker when I put everything like this, and create
Right.
with my wife to-do list application.
Yeah, yeah.
Publish it on App Store because, yeah.
I tried to do lists. They never worked for me because anyway, try GTD, Get Things Done. There's a book called Get Things Done. It's a book, and it's
Mhm.
very popular methodology, and it changed my world. Because I have too many things to maintain, and it's very easy
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
lose.
yeah. In modern world, it's really important to like leave your sign or knowledge of this point. And
Right.
also, one more question about you. At your website, I found a list of your name and surname in different languages.
Yes.
Can you tell us the top three for you?
Um. Top three. Well, I can tell you the top two. Um. One of them is the Chinese
Hmm.
version, and I got that Chinese one. I spent almost 3 months in China in 2012, so more than 11 years ago now. And I spent Christmas and New Year in Shanghai. And the reason I did is because I had a lot of business, a lot of meetings in China and in Tokyo and in parts of India, 3 different cities in India. So I had several cities in China, Tokyo in Japan, and then several cities in India. And they're all in the same 3 months. And so I said, oh, you know, I could come to Asia, have the meetings, and then fly back home, and then 2 days later fly back to Asia, have the meetings, and then go back home. And I thought, no, that's not going to work. That's too much flying. So I just stayed in Asia. I just stayed in China,
Hmm.
and I went to the VMware office back then. This is before Pivotal, so 2012, right? And I went to the office there, and I worked there, and the local Chinese team gave me my Chinese name, which is like Lung Zichun, which is it means spring dragon, right? So my last name, Long, in Chinese is like Lung, which means dragon, Yiga Lung.
Hmm.
And then obviously I work on the spring team, so spring. So it's the spring dragon, right? Which is very cool. I like that a lot. And it's a very auspicious name, they tell me. So that's part one.
Yeah,
And
in
then part
China, as I know, they have different type of dragons. Here in our Western world, we know like only these fire dragons, and that's all. But there they have water dragons, fire dragons, wind dragons, and all this like stack of dragons actually.
wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Um, yeah. And then what was it? Oh, the second one was Jush, which is the I think it's Tamil Indian one. And the reason that one's interesting to me is it was given to me by somebody on Twitter before it was called
Hmm.
X. Also, maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I forget, but somebody who was a fan. When they saw my Chinese name, they said, "Oh, you should have your Tamil name." I think it was, or maybe it's Telugu. I forget, but they gave me the name Jush, not Josh. My name is Josh
Hmm.
in what American English, pronounced English, right? But they gave me the name Jush, which apparently in that language, it sounds almost like my name, but it also means passion, right? And people, when they see my talks, I hope that they think that I'm excited and passionate about the things about which I'm speaking. And so I thought that was a very flattering, well thought out name. And then, of course, Josh, my name. My
Yeah.
mom, I talk about my
Okay.
name all the time. I talk about it in all my talks. I talk about how when I'm going to build a brand new piece of software in my demo, I'm going to call it service. I give it the artifact name service, and then I make the joke that I'm great with names, and I get this great ability with names from my father. And my father, when I was a little boy, my father named this small white dog that we had, he named it White Dog, and and then that dog was with us for like 10 years, and then that dog disappeared, and then we had another small white dog, and my father named it Two, or Too, Two, or Too, and we don't know what happened to the first one. Maybe he got a job, but then the second one, he was with us, and yeah. So my dad is very, very good with names, and I get that from him. But my
And
mom,
and
she
he
always
was
tells,
not a programmer, yeah, not developer. Your father is not developer, but I think
"Yep,
in his soul he is like developer from his roots, because
oh
such
yeah,
like
probably."
correct names.
Exactly. And my mom, she says, she always tells me, she says, "You're very lucky that I named you." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's probably true." You know, because imagine, I was a little white baby. What would my father name me? I wonder.
I heard one of the boxers. I don't know. I forget his name. He had 13 childrens, and all of them had his name. It doesn't matter, like girl or boy. All of them have the same name. His name.
Oh no.
So you can understand the level, yeah, how it could be. Okay, let's back. You mentioned about books, yeah, and you an author of 7 books, and it's really impressive for me.
Thank you.
And in this case, I want to ask you: do you remember the first book that you read on programming and in Java? Because I remember for Java, because I'm not a Java developer, but I'm remembering my first book. It was like philosophy of Java. It was
Oh,
13 years ago.
cool. So the first book I read on Java, or the first good one? There's a difference.
Good one. You first book related to developing and programming, and first book related to Java.
Okay, so the first good book that I remember reading was Bruce Eccles. Now, again, I read a lot of other books, but these two books changed my life. Okay, so the first good book that I remember reading was Bruce Eccles' book called Thinking in C++. And Bruce Eckel, this book was famous. It's in the 90s, right? In the late 90s, 1997, something like this. I'm reading this book, and he's teaching not C++, he's teaching why C++, like how to think object oriented, how to think in terms of to take advantage of these features of the language. And he's a brilliant guy. And then a little while later, he wrote a book called Thinking in Java. And so,
Hmm.
Thinking in Java, I read when I was lucky. My father, he was back to my father. He used to sell cremation services. You know what cremation is, where they burn the body after death. Um,
Oh yeah.
for right. So he would sell. We were poor, right, and so he sold cremation services, and he would knock on a door and talk to people, and if they're older and maybe they want to have plans for what happens after they pass, maybe they buy from him, right? But my father, he met this wonderful older couple in Los Angeles, and he started talking to
Hmm.
them. And I was very young. I was still in high school, and he got them to invite me. This is insane, right? He got them to invite me to come to stay with them in the south of
Hmm.
France, their small castle. They owned a second home in the south of France, so they had very good money. They owned a small castle in the south of France 30
Hmm.
years ago, 25 years ago. Yeah, almost 28 years ago. And yeah, and I didn't know them. So my father, he talked to them only for a few hours, and they liked him so much that they invited me to come to their home in the south of France to do chores, to clean up, right? To clean up to clean the cut the grass and clean the gutters and just to help them out with their big home in the south of France. And I was learning French at the time, and so I thought, oh, this would be really good. And so my father, he was very brave. He sent me his only his young child. He sent me for a whole summer. He gave me a little bit of money, all the money he had, and said, okay, you have to get to this place in the south of France. I'll drop you off at the airport here in Los Angeles. Good luck, right? And I did it. I was able to go to the south of France, and I spent the summer there with other kids who spoke French, and I learned French. And also I got to stay in this nice home that these nice people had in one of their rooms. And it turns out that the person I was staying with, the old people, the man, he used to be a professor of computer science. He
Hmm.
had retired. He had retired just recently, and so he had all these great programming books. And on the floor was Thinking in Java by Bruce Eckel. So the next book, not Thinking in C++, but the next
Hmm.
one. And this one, it helped me understand because I understood. I had written Java in classes and I understood how to write it, but I didn't understand why to write it certain ways. I didn't understand the design patterns. I didn't understand why this is good versus bad. I just didn't. It helped me give. It gave me a why, not just a how. And so I learned why Java in that time in the south of France. I learned a lot of French. I speak French now, but I also learned Java, and it made me love Java. Right before, Java was just another language, and it just seemed like it could be okay. But he gave me a very honest, with no lies. He told me the good and the bad perspective on Java, and I love that book so much that a few years later, after I was starting to make a little bit of money, I sent a letter to him. I sent him a letter. This is like 2000 or something like this. I sent him a letter, and I said basically, thank you so much for your book, and I told him very much how much I appreciated the book. He printed it in the book. So if you look at the book from
Oh.
like 20 years ago, you'll see a letter in there from me, starbucksman.com, Josh Long. It's in the testimonials, the letters. So that was the that book changed my life, and it's a very good book, and you can still see my name in there from decades ago.
You just
And actually,
inspired me to send an email to one of professors at Stanford University because from these courses, I think my iOS developer life started from at least
yeah,
partly on these courses. They're
great.
really great, and even now, after in 13 years, as I mentioned, all the time to renew, because from my side, Swift and Objective C change, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
yeah,
Objective C is
that's
amazing. I
really
love
great.
Objective C. Objective
Yeah,
C is
and just back to your father, and just want to say it's scary to me to imagine how Black Fridays was going on this service when he came to people on Black Fridays. We can propose
oh
you one.
no, he was. I mean, he tried everything, to keep us so that we didn't run out of food. He was a very. My father was. I have, I have been very lucky in my life. A lot of people are not lucky. Me, very, very lucky. I have two fathers. I have my first father, my birth father, and then I have my mom's current and final, I suppose, husband, who has been like a second
Mhm.
father to me. He's what is he? My stepfather? Yeah, and he's just the greatest. Both my fathers are amazing, amazing people, and they were very good to me, and they've always been good to me. My first one, my biological
That-
father, he passed away in 2019, but you know, he lives on through the amazing stories.
yeah, but he made a really great person as you, Josh, and
No,
to you.
I just but my father was great. He was great. I want to be like him when I grow up.
Okay, now we was talking, yeah, about some past things, yeah, and let's go ahead, but in like Java perspective in this case, in Java area. And one of your speeches, you mentioned that present time is the best for Java developers.
Yes.
The availability of language features and its ecosystem on the whole. Uh,
Yeah.
what would you value the most you didn't have 10 years ago? Because as I mentioned, for me it was 13 years ago when I last time coding professionally on Java, and it was just lambdas, I think. It
Yeah.
was Java SES7, yeah. So can you tell for me, yeah, and for other people who probably came to us today, what you prefer to have like 10 years ago as you was developer at
Um,
this time?
so 10 years ago, 9 years ago, in 2014, Java 8 came out, and that's when we introduced lambdas. And so Java 8, ever since Java 8, Java has gotten better, 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 and it's super fast, right? They have gone so quickly, and now I tell people all the time, you should try Java today. If you're using some of these other languages, I think Swift, you mentioned Swift, is uh, a slightly better language. It has more features, okay? Or C Sharp is slightly better, or Kotlin, which I love, is also slightly better. It has a few more features, but not everybody can use those really nice different languages. TypeScript is also, well, ignore the terrible type system for a minute, but if you just look at the syntax of the features in a pure TypeScript program, if you had a compiler, it would be a very nice language. And so all these things are I think just a little bit better than Java, but the difference is everybody programs Java, and so these new features that are in Java today are 95% of what these other languages have, but they're available for everybody. Everybody that's ever written Java can upgrade and use these new features. And so there's this opportunity, without rewriting all your code, to take code written from 2005 and upgrade it and use this amazing language now. You have things like var, you have things like virtual threads, which is not just like virtual threads in Java is much better than what other languages have. It's not just the same. It is not the same. The only language that has anything like this is Go, right? Go has green threads, but everybody else has gotten this wrong. So C Sharp and Python and Rust and even Kotlin, which I love, it hurts me to say it, right? All these other languages have async await, or in the case of Kotlin, they have suspend functions. And so you end up with this ugly code base where half of your code is using async and the other half is not, and so they don't work well together. You have to add async to everything, the keyword async. And so Java doesn't have any of this problem. We didn't do that. We have just virtual threads. Threads can be green or they can be non-green threads. They can be virtual threads, and so as a result, you get the scalability of something like reactive programming or something like async await, but it doesn't complicate your code. You don't have to change all your functions to take advantage of this. You don't have to refactor your code base to do it. It just regular Java lang threads, just like you would have written 20 years ago. You only change the factory method. That's it. And even there, if you're using Spring, we can do that for you. So the result is completely transparent. If you're using a virtual thread, if you're in a Java lang thread that is a virtual thread, and you do a blocking operation, you call it input stream.read, that just transparently gets moved off the thread if there's an async wait time, and it gets put back on the thread when there's bytes to process. It's like you called, in JavaScript, const my value equals await get customer. Well, I'm calling the get customer function, which is from the SQL database. This is going to give me a result eventually, and the compiler with JavaScript, it looks at that and says, oh, okay, I'm on this thread, but now I'm waiting for bytes. These bytes might take a minute. And so it moves it automatically from one thread to another. And it just does that for free. So you have virtual threads, which I think is huge. You have smart switch expressions. You have pattern matching. You have multi-line strings. You have all sorts. I don't know. It's just var. It's just amazing. Lambdas. All this is just now. It's all here. And so if you look at these language features and you go, okay, well, actually, it has most of what every other language has. I think maybe you could say TypeScript has union types that are a little bit different. We have records now. We have tuples, basically, in Java as well. So you look at all these features other languages have, and maybe there's a little feature here, a little feature there. But basically, we have all the big ones now. And it really feels very clean and nicely integrated because the Java team, they don't just add things, without care for the future or the past. They do it very deliberately. But now the language is at a point where if you're starting today, the Java you would write, if you just learned Java today, the Java you would write today looks nothing like the Java you would have written in 1998 or 1995 when I was starting. And it's just an amazing language. And it has better scalability. And then you add to that the performance options. You've got things like GraalVM, right? GraalVM is a native image compiler. So now I can build a Spring application that turns into native code. It starts up in tens of milliseconds, and it takes tens of megabytes of RAM, not hundreds or thousands, right? Well, it could be hundreds, but maybe 150 instead of like 1,000 or whatever. You can do truly amazing things. So you can build a program that is operating system specific, starts up instantly, takes a very small amount of RAM, and has virtual threads to handle great, large amounts of scalability like Node.js or Go or whatever, and you get that all today. And it requires less code to get those results in some cases than you would in other languages like TypeScript or C# or whatever, right? Just an amazing, amazing, amazing time. And people are, if they renamed Java and just called it whatever, something else, Avaj, like just take the name Java and reverse it, and they release that as a brand new language, I am convinced people would love it. If they didn't know it was Java, just show them this new language that is Java 21, but hidden. They changed the name and changed the package. People would be really, really impressed. It's truly a different language now. And it works well with Spring.
Yeah, I opened actually Wikipedia before our Fireside chat and saw that now Java releases going each one half of a year, and it's really impressive. Yeah. And they add more and more features, and even on one of other podcasts, I heard we're comparing between Kotlin and Java, and people say that, some time ago Kotlin was much ahead than Java, but now Java is going ahead and keeping more and more features. And in this case, I want to ask you, what are the new language features you're waiting with anticipation in Java? Yeah. In next releases.
So what are you asking? What I want, or what is actually coming that I'm waiting for?
No. What do you want? Well, you're waiting. For example, there's going to be feature A, B, C, and you say this one I'm really waiting because it will help me on solving such a type of issues. Yeah.
So there are two features. Like the feature that I want that will not come, but I wish it would one day, is val, V-A-L. I want a final var, basically. Right now in Java, you can say final var my int equals 1 or whatever, but it's very verbose. In Kotlin or a lot of other languages, you can just say val, V-A-L, my int equals 1. That's a final value, but you don't have to type. You don't have to specify the type. We have var, V-A-R, but that's not final. I just wish it was final. Okay, that's part one. That'll never happen, but I wish it did. In terms of features that will absolutely happen soon, in Java 22, so again, I think March of 2024, we'll have a new feature in Java called Project Panama. Project Panama is a very easy way to do foreign function interop. So one of the nice things about Go, for example, or Rust, is that it's easy, or Zig, is that it's very easy to talk to other C libraries. So you can call into the kernel, into POSIX. You can do low-level things. You can manipulate user space libraries in the operating system very easily from those languages. In Java, it's not so easy, right? You have to use JNI, which is fast but very painful to write because you have to generate some C++ header files and then write C++ code to marshal data back and forth from Java to C++. And you have to be a good programmer in both Java and C++, or at the very least C++ with C. You have to do that right now, and it's not very fun. It's been there for 25, 28 years. JNI is a very old feature, but it's very painful. Nobody likes to use it. And this has been good for Java. It's been good for Java because in lots of other languages, they need a feature, and so they use, if they can get the feature by calling into the C code, they just do that. And so it's very fast. They can add new features to their platform by writing C wrappers, and it's very easy for them in other languages like Python. And so Python is a good example. Python is a very rich community, but a lot of the features are requiring native code. These native features don't work on certain operating systems. In Java, it's very painful to use native code. And so we've always just written it in Java. Most 99.9999% of all the libraries that you use out there in Java are pure Java. They almost never have C++ code, right? Almost never. Sometimes, very rarely, like Bouncy Castle maybe will have native code, or Netty, right, for non-blocking I/O. But basically, the Java ecosystem is very portable. If you find a library, it's almost guaranteed that you can take that library, run it on Mac, Windows, Linux, etc. And that's wonderful. But it also means that the cost of developing is painful. It's hard because you have to start entirely in Java. And maybe on Linux, you can see a feature you want. It's right there. I just want to use it. But I can't because I have to use pure Java, or I have to use JNI, which is horrible. And so people wanted a faster way to do native code interop. And in Java 22, and we had something, by the way, called JNA. JNA is a dynamic binding for foreign function interop. But it's still not great. And so now in Java 22, coming out in 4 months, a little bit more than 4 months, we have Project Panama. Project Panama is easy foreign function interop, the kind that you get from languages like Go or Python or Rust or whatever. So now it would be very easy in Java to create, to malloc, to allocate memory into a memory buffer, and then within that buffer, within the scope of that pointer to that memory buffer, allocate memory and then free it and do things like that. You have low-level APIs for creating structs and memory pointers, but even better, there's a tool called JExtract that you can use. You can say, okay, JExtract, here's the header file. Please create a Java library that uses this header file, that talks to this header file, right? So now I can use JExtract. I can say, here's a C library. It'll create Java code that you can use that will automatically have the functions in Java that looks like the functions from C or C++. And so now I can easily, just with a tool, and I link it to my code, now I can easily talk to native libraries. And I don't have to worry about writing C++ code. I just run this and it generates Java code for me. It's really powerful. And that'll be GA in Java 22. Yeah, that's coming GA in less than 4 months. And you can try that now. It's already a preview feature. It's been there for years. It's very, very, very good. And it's this is the beginning too. This will be part of all the efforts that are happening in Java to improve performance. So Valhalla, for example, has a tie into this. So now, we have a vector support. Vector support is matrix multiplication, fast, specialized hardware-based matrix multiplication. One of the big things that Python has is NumPy and SciPy. Well, now we can have this, right? Now that we have native support for fast vector matrix multiplication, we could do something to do whatever. I mean, imagine writing a video game. You need this kind of support, or if you wanted to write TensorFlow or something like that in Java, you need this kind of support.
You mentioned actually one of the projects, Project Valhalla. Can you tell a couple of words of your vision to this project? How you feel about this project?
I love it. I mean, so it's a Valhalla and all these efforts. The big picture here is to make it easier for Java to integrate with values and for native types, right? So Project Panama, Valhalla, etc. All of these are about efficiency, right? Java is already very energy efficient, but it could be better. Right now, Java has not been. It does not dominate the AI space right now, right? Python does. And the reason Python does is because Python has these great libraries that are native, like NumPy and SciPy. These are C++ and C libraries that they interop with that allow them to do these fast matrix multiplications. And that's, that matrix multiplication, that gives you fast Fourier transforms. That gives you all these important algorithms that you need for data science. So you can write slow Python code, but it still executes quickly because it's C. And so people have built amazing things. Now imagine what happens if we have that kind of performant thing in Java, right? And that stuff is coming. Valhalla gives you also value types and things like that. don't want to get into a whole thing on it, but I love these features.
And you mentioned about AI, yeah, and think one of the words of the 2023 is AI. Yeah, and
Yeah.
do you use any AI tools in development like ChatGPT, Copilot, or something like that? And what
Yeah,
is
I
your
have
experience?
Copilot. I use that in Visual Studio Code. I use Copilot. I haven't gotten the beta for the JetBrains AI, but I have used Copilot instead of IntelliJ. That's really nice. And in general, I use ChatGPT all the time. I use it for, and so we on the Spring team we have a project called Spring AI, which is a client for all sorts of different AI implementations, all sorts of vector databases and LLMs. So Hugging Face and Ollie and OpenAI and Azure AI and all these different implementations. So you can talk to them from your Spring application. Um, and of course, this all works in AOT as well. So, or a lot of it does. I'm not sure about all of it, but so you can use it in GraalVM as well. So you can get really fast Java programs that talk to, the Singularity, the AI Singularity, and get some really cool integrations into your code base. I love this stuff. Even my podcast and my videos now, I'm starting to use AI to sort of think about how I can make the content better. It's just it's part of my everyday life now. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you mentioned about your podcast and your YouTube channel. They're definitely gonna be like attached as a link to this video. Yeah, you can just say a couple of words about them.
Oh,
If you wanna.
youtube.com at coffee software. YouTube.com / at coffee software. So coffee and software, right? That's it. So, and it's just there's hundreds of videos there now. It's I started it in January of this year, almost a year ago, 11 months ago, and my goal was to just have a place where I could talk about anything I wanted to. Right. I also do the Spring Tips YouTube series on the Spring Source Dev YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel I helped grow that channel from very very small number of followers 13 years ago to now almost 200,000. And I love doing those videos, but those are very much they're just about Spring, and there's very specific. And so I wanted a separate channel where I could talk about everything. And so my YouTube channel is called Coffee Software, and it's join me. I do live streams all the time, but I also do prepared videos and all that. And people love the longer videos, especially. They seem to because they can join me. I'm just writing code and I'm answering questions, and I sit there for hours, and people like those as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, join for Josh channel and listen his podcast, review his books. He's amazing person from my point of view, because for me it's unbelievable to make all of those things at the same time. It's really hard to manage, I think. And before we finish, we want to provide you and present one more thing. Yeah, it's based on your answers that we get previously and before our meeting, and I hope our team already prepared this picture. I hope yes, and it will show. Yeah.
Oh,
so basically,
that's so cool.
this person gonna believe at our cloud Java cloud, yeah, and then it would be an alias for you, Josh. But we need to make a couple of things. Let's name who is this actually. Let's give a name for this person.
The cat. This character on the screen, you mean? I don't know, Batcat.
Yeah. Batcat. It's gonna be name Batcat. Just Batcat. Just moving forward as your father told you. Yes, simple name. See Batcat, Batcat. Okay.
Yeah. Great with names. I get that.
Okay. Okay. One more thing. Name we get. It's he. Yeah. Is he good in Java? How do you think? This Batcat.
What is it?
Or in Spring?
Say again.
Is he? I think it's he. Yeah. Is he good on Java in Java developing? How do you think?
Oh, sure. I mean, if I can be good, then this cat definitely could too.
Definitely. I think also like that. And what his superpower? What do you think
Uh,
of this cat?
oh, I haven't the foggiest. Goodness. Um, Looks like it can commune with both animals of the sea and the air, although they seem to be mixed together here. Uh, I don't know. Looks just very interesting.
Just provide, I don't know, fastest lighting. It looks like Batman,
I
yeah,
mean,
because we know why
it
it's
can
like Batman.
commune with animals of the sea and the air, right? It looks like that.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's great. Okay, so thank you. It was Josh and his bad cat. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your answers. I hope it was pleasant to you to join to us and you have fun with us this half of an hour. Thanks and see you on the next Cloud Builders conferences.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you.